Senator Joe Manchin, regardless of what he says, is effectively against virtually every one of the stated goals of the Biden administration. He wants the infrastructure bill to be much smaller than it's being proposed to be, even though in advance of the plan, he implied he wanted something twice as big. Now, any tax increase is unacceptable. But even more importantly, for the future of the Democratic Party, he is now effectively coming out against HR 1, the For the People Act. You know, that like little effort to stop some of the massive voter suppression that we had already been burdened by as a country, that now there's far more of in the wake of the last election. So it's backed by Biden. It aims to modernize voter registration, restore the Voting Rights Act, end gerrymandering, increase election security and campaign transparency, empower small donors, and implement various ethics reforms. So that's what it wants to do, to stop a lot of this suppression, especially racial motivated voter suppression. And this is what he has to say about that. How in the world could you, with the tension we have right now, allow a voting bill to restructure the voting of America on a partisan line? 20 to 25% of the public already doesn't trust the system, and that a party line overhaul would guarantee that number would increase, leading to more anarchy like that at the Capitol on January 6th. I just believe that all my heart and soul that's what would happen, and I'm not going to be a part of it.
Gosh, man.
So
instead of blaming the insurrectionists and their radical conspiracy theories and their white supremacist ideology, he wants to blame the left. And what boils down to like a push for equality and a stronger democracy. I mean, he doesn't get it. I don't know why we would expect for him to get it. He's a white guy named Manchin, and he's a politician.
That's true, but he's a Joe. He's supposed to like understand what Joe Biden wants.
Joe Manchin. For me, it's so ironic that his name sounds like Manchin. It's we really didn't believe, I didn't believe that he was going to step back from his own, worldview perspective to really see what this could do for people. I mean, everybody is so afraid. I mean, you can't operate from fear when it comes to those terrorists coming through. I mean, these are people who tried to ruin our democracy. So we should even come full force with this sort of legislation to really try to make these changes. But to back down at this point, I mean, this guy's not even a moderate. This guy is really moving to the right, hardcore. He's gonna have to change his party affiliation pretty soon.
Yeah, the statement is crazy. The only reasonable response to it is the meme, "I'm gonna become the Joker," as a response to you. Okay, so they lied about the election. They tried to steal the election, and because they lied about and tried to steal the election, we don't get to secure people's right to vote. You were being like. You were attempting to be very fair, I think, by implying that there is a world in which what he said is an actual reflection of what he believes. I hope not, because again, like we've talked about this, I think maybe on Monday, you can't be that dumb, so you've gotta be lying. And then that may seem like I'm insulting him or I'm attacking him. No, I'm defending him, because he can't be that dumb. It's just not possible. I won't abide the thought. So it has to be a lie. That cannot be his actual reason for not wanting to do. They lied.
I mean, I know he's lying, but I think he really doesn't think that there's a problem with voting rights. I just don't think.
Well, sure, he might not understand how racially motivated a lot of this is and all of that. But when he says 20 to 25% of the public doesn't trust the system, does he have no idea that if that's true, how that's true, why they don't trust the system, how they've been lied to? By the people that he's protecting in the Senate, the Republicans. He's siding with those who lied. He works in the room that they broke into, that they stormed. As a result,
there's a lot of people that don't trust the system, and they're not all terrorist insurrectionists that were in the Capitol. There's a lot of people that don't trust the system for a lot of reasons, Joe Manchin, and we got to look at all of those people, and they're your constituents too. I think maybe he's recognizing that the demographics of his, of his constituents don't add up to protecting voting rights. Instead, he's leaning towards these, Trumper philosophies. Maybe he thinks that that's his ticket for the next election, and that's sad. That's what our politics is all about. It's really, how am I going to win? How am I going to hold on to this power? Not how am I going to help help the people?
Yeah, and in this case, I think it's just his own very particular political power, because his path is definitely a path that leads to the Senate Republicans taking back over. But I mean, not trusting the system.
living in a country, just imagine living in a country that purports to be like the beacon of democracy, and then choosing to pander to racists like insurrectionists instead of strengthening the democracy and strengthening the country for the people. I mean, this is where we're at. We're the beacon, but we don't want to protect voting rights. We don't want to, modernize our voting systems. We don't want to make sure that gerrymandering doesn't exist. I mean, these are things that we know happened, that were intentional, that are still happening. I know I just read that California might lose a seat because of the way these voting lines in the districts are being drawn. It's a big deal. I mean, this is stuff that has been laid into the framework of this country. So if you want to act like it hasn't happened, like I'm with you. Is he lying or is he stupid? I believe he is lying, but I do believe that there's also something that he just doesn't want to believe it. Well, we're past all that. Slavery's over. That's the whole thing we keep hearing, right? Slavery's over, as if there's no residual effects from having some kind of horrible stuff like that, and laws put in place to uphold stuff like that. So Joe Manchin is just such a disappointment. I don't understand how his political philosophy is shifting and what he wants to go, other than just to hold on to power, but it's definitely not to help people.
Sure, and as you alluded to, there are different forms of not trusting the system. And not all of them are because you believe stop the steal and all the lies or whatever. Like, if you had to wait in line for 10 hours to vote because they decided to take a bunch of the voting places out of your area because it was a little bit too black for them, then I could see why you might not trust the system totally. If you had been unable to turn, the fact that in an area you might actually represent like the bulk of, this is what the people want, you can't turn that into political representation because of racial gerrymandering, you might not trust the system. But I guess that's not the right kind of not trusting the system for Joe Manchin. Or maybe it's just that the ones he's worried about are the ones who attacked the Capitol. So these terrorists scared him and now he's giving them what they want. I guess the pro-voting activists haven't been violent and wild and crazy enough for Joe Manchin to motivate him properly.
Right?
Anyway, way to set up the incentives, Manchin. Exactly.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.